up to endure something painful, unpleasant, or otherwise dissatisfactory, to deal with or recover from some hardship or stress. Suck it up, endure something painful.
Welcome to another episode of the Suck It Up Man podcast. I'm Wayne. That's Josh over there. So we're going to be talking about a pretty serious topic today, something that I fortunately have not dealt with, either been a victim or on the other end of it, but Josh has, and you obviously have talked about it a little bit here and there on the podcast. And that topic, of course, is domestic violence and domestic abuse. So I know you've, like, as I mentioned, you've talked a little bit about it in the past, but given breadcrumbs, but I know you have some stories that, or maybe one in particular that you wanted to share.
Yeah, and here's a couple of things that I'll tell you. A lot of times people that have known me post my first marriage have all said the same thing. You seem so jovial. You seem so happy. You seem upbeat and personable, and nothing really stresses me out that much. Like, even when I got arrested for my club and was looking at 1,000 years in jail, I wasn't too stressed out about that, even though that's like a realistic thing that I had to deal with. And I've had people ask me, they say, how are you just so chill and laid back? And when you deal with domestic violence, when you deal with it personally, you learn to realize and appreciate that the end of the world isn't so much the end of the world. Things really aren't that bad overall. And I even debated for a period of time. Today, in the last couple of days, whether or not I should tell you about one of the worst situations that I experienced with domestic violence. And to give you the reason why I debated with myself is because, when you're married to somebody for 19 and a half years, you believe that there's certain things that, you just let them lie and you let them die out and you don't worry about them. But when it comes to domestic violence, it's something that's really hard to do. And I tell people all the time the first 12 years of my marriage was great. And then the last 7 years, she was abusive. And she was abusive in the first part of our marriage, too, just not very extreme. And, it's one of those things where currently in today's society, 1 out of 3 men in relationships deal with some form of abuse. And the worst part that I ever got to, this was a couple of years ago. And again, I debated on even telling this story. And people don't really understand domestic violence or domestic abuse on a mental or spiritual scale. They understand it on a physical scale. Like, people will see you have a black eye, or your shoulder's bruised, but you can wear long sleeves to cover bruises on your arms and shit. Because that was one of my favorite spots that my ex-wife used to like to hit me, is she'd pound the shit out of my right arm. And but that wasn't the worst of it. And the worst of it, to give you an idea, is more mental than anything. And what do I mean by that? I once had my ex-wife take a Sharpie to my whole fucking body. And she wrote various things on me, like, I own you, you're mine, uh, shit like that. And I debated even telling this story, because in a way it's a really bad story, but in a way it's an uplifting story. But I remember I went into the bathroom to try getting the Sharpie off. And before I wanted to get the Sharpie off, I went to go take a photo of myself. And I'll never forget, I attempted to take a photo no less than 6 times. And every time I raised the camera up to take a photo, I broke down every fucking time. And I determined after the 6th time that I never wanted that to be on record as far as a physical sight that you could see, because I don't think anybody should ever see that. And the fact that I got to experience it mentally and physically, people will say, well, how the hell did you let your ex-wife do that? She was only 5'4", whatever. You know, you're a 6 foot tall guy. You can handle that. You know, domestic violence, there's a level of mentality there that they have a power over you that you don't unleash the shackles, if you will, or you don't realize how much of a power they have over you until you finally do. And then you just say enough is enough. But you know, to get Sharpie off of your skin, you have to take pure fucking alcohol. You have to take alcohol swabs, and it dries out your skin like a son of a bitch. But in the long run, it made me who I am today. So if some shit goes down where I'm super stressed out, you know, I can just remember the man that was in that mirror with the fucking Sharpie from head to toe. And when I say from head to toe, I mean from fucking head to toe, front and most of my back. Uh, I'm a lot stronger than that fucking guy. And that's something that I'm grateful for. And you know, the worst part about it is I don't even necessarily fault my ex-wife that much for it. Like, people who hear that story, they think, how the fuck could you not just want to like kill your ex-wife? Yeah, there's part of her that was like mentally insane, and I'll write a little bit off to that, but you know, there was a part of it to her that she enjoyed it. But you know, people's upbringings, you can't entirely blame them 100%. I am one of the most forgiving people out there, so it's a difficult story to hear, but when you hear it, you know, again, it makes me a stronger person. So don't hear it and go, holy shit, your ex-wife must be an evil person. She may be evil, but just because of what she did does not mean that she's necessarily evil. It's just she had a mental break. But even today, it sounds like I'm fucking defending her, which is fucking ridiculous. That's what domestic violence does for you. It doesn't do anything good. So
Yeah, and what you're talking about, I've never seen it in person, but I've seen it in movies and shows and different things where it's typically a woman. I don't know if I've ever really seen a male victim of domestic violence in a movie or show. Obviously, it's not as common, even though I guess it's becoming more common. Or I don't even know if it's becoming
well,
more
no,
common.
it's always been common. It's just been very shunned upon. So
Yeah.
domestic violence is something, especially from a male's perspective. 1 in 3 men experience domestic violence, especially if you're a member of the Black community. Culturally, if you're a Black man getting abused by a woman, you are really looked down upon. And I say this shit and I talk about this shit at the poker table. You've heard me talk about that stuff. But it's funny because you can say it, and some of those Black guys will give me like strange looks, and I look at them and I'm like, I can already tell by your bodily reaction that this is hitting them really fucking close to home, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, you know. And I know I hate to say that, but you know, truth be told, I know we're live and our viewers and watchers out there, you know, if they have questions about that, I mean, that's, you know, that's just part of the culture. You know, if you're a Black man, you can't admit to being beat by a woman. It's just you'll really look down upon, you know. So
Do you think that stigma will ever go away completely? Where men, I guess it's become probably a little bit more common since you went through this, right? Because you went through this probably what, about 10 years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, give or take a little bit. You know, the thing about it is I remember there was a time when I was dating her in high school, and she wailed the shit out of my arm when I was driving down the road, and I just chopped it up to, you know, emotions or whatever the case may be. So there was signs of it even when we were dating, but it became really abusive. Yeah, shortly after a family situation occurred, and then her father passed away, and then she became extremely abusive after that, which was really unfortunate because it was like a double whammy, And then she would use that kind of as like an excuse or as a crutch, or this is why the fucking Christmas tree is on the floor is because my dad died. Like, why? This is why I took a $2,000 fucking computer and took a hammer to it because my dad died. Like, I understand that your dad died, but fuck, So that's why I say there's some things when you kind of write off to, well, maybe they just weren't in their best mental frame of mind, but there's really no fucking excuse for domestic violence. There really isn't. And yeah, it's unfortunate because even post marriage, my ex-wife was using our kid in a sense as a way of continuing the fucking unnecessary abuse. So this is a subject that touches home to me, but it's also a subject that you have to, I don't want to say have a little humor on, but you learn a lot of things. And I certainly learned to joke around. Like I always say, what's so nice about getting beat by a paperback book? It doesn't leave marks. Because if you've been beaten with a hardback book, it's left marks, and you know that. I mean, like, this is the shit that you're like, I can't believe Josh is saying this, but hey, I've experienced it. So, I speak from experience of, those personal experiences. And again, it makes me a stronger person. Just like the government took $98,000 out of my account and, convicted felon thing. It makes me who I am now today. So I'm a very reasonable, understanding guy. I tend to listen to people before them necessarily hearing my voice now. First, I seek to understand first before being understood. And then I just make a practice of understanding that, and this is one of my favorite quotes, is everybody's capable of murder. It just takes a really bad day and a really good excuse, and on the flip side, everybody's capable of being good. It just takes a reason, and that's it. So I don't know, man. I'm having a good moment, even though this is a domestic violence episode, particularly against men. And here's the other thing. This was before the whole woke movement where men could be claiming to be women. But I remember at the time I tried reaching out for the women's shelter, and they couldn't help me out because I was a man. Of course, this was before the woke movement. I don't know if they could now, but it was very interesting. So when I did research, and Bryson maybe able can verify this, but there's something like 13,000 plus domestic violence shelters for women. And at the time, I think there was 6 for men in the whole United States, even though it's 1 out of 3 relationships with men deal with or some form of abuse. And of course there's verbal abuse, and there's, mental abuse and things of that nature. And I know sometimes people might say, well, what the hell is verbal abuse? I'll give you an example of verbal abuse, and not to go into too much personal stuff, but for 5 years, every day I woke up and the first words out of my wife's mouth was, "Can't you just fucking kill me already? Why aren't I dead?"
Jeez.
And I'm like, "Good morning. How are you doing today, honey?" That's how she started the day. It was either some form of that or some form of, "I wish I died in my sleep." And so again, people will say, so there's some mental issues there, obviously. But when you wake up and the first words out of your mouth is, "Why didn't I just die in my sleep?" And then you take your fucking sadness out on my right arm or my chest, or the food I cook for you. It's like, come on now. I chose not to kill you in your sleep. You should be fucking happy. I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple of the points you made in the 3 or 4 years I've known you. I know you mentioned you don't really get angry too often. And I think in the time I've known you, I think the only time I've seen you really super angry was when you were at the final table at Seminole Hard Rock. And I think it was that hand where you were against Sam, who's one of our viewers on our poker vlog. And it was like 80 or 90% of the chips in play in this one pot. And you had like probably 75% chance to win, and he ended
He
up
hits
spiking on the river.
Jack of diamonds on the river. Yeah, he has jacks and
Yeah.
fours.
Yeah. So you busted in third place, and I know you were kind of walking from the ballroom to the bathroom, and you just screamed "fuck" as loud as you can on top of your lungs. And I was like, I was taken aback. I said, "Shit, I don't know if I've ever seen him that angry." I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking that in my head. But even at that point, after probably a couple minutes, you were still pissed, but you were.
Yeah, I think I was like $12,000 richer or $8,000 richer. I was still pissed. Yeah, isn't that funny though? But yeah, I remember that's probably the only time, because I could just taste it. I was like, Samurai is going to win this damn thing. This other guy is like letting us battle, and we kept battling, and then we get in a hand, and he just has to hit a jack or a 4 on the river or something. I can't remember. I remember I had like 67% equity on the turn, and the jack hits the river, and I just remember I was like, that it was literally 90% of the chips in play. I was like, the tournament was mine. It was the difference between I think it was like $8,000 and $22,000, and then Sam ended up losing that fucking tournament somehow. He had 9-1 chip lead against that fucking guy and got it all with him like 3 times pre and lost and came in second.
Well, how he plays, his stack will just fly up and down very, very quickly. So
yeah, but I mean, I think even on the drive home, I was smoking a doob and I was chill. I was like, in the big scheme of things, I still got third. But yeah, when you taste victory that close, it was literally a $15,000 jack of diamonds. That's one of those where that'll stick with me for a while.
Yeah. So that was probably the only time I've seen you angry in 3 or 4 years. And now that I hear this story for the first time, it makes sense why you have that calm demeanor, because really nothing you're going to go through in your everyday life is going to be as painful as what you've gone through before. So
yeah, the only thing I could ever think about that would be just as painful is if I got news that my daughter was dead. That would probably be the only thing. But like, even my parents, and I love them to death. My dad's turning 81 and my mom's turning 80 next year. So she's still 79, as she likes to point out. But even if my parents passed away, that would still really upset me. But at their age, it's a little bit more understandable. So yeah, there's really, once you go through that level of like emotional turmoil or pain, there's not much that'll phase me now. I'm much more thick-skinned, but I think it's also I'm much more patient with people. Like if somebody's having a really bad day, I'm just like, like when I complain to somebody, I'll give you a perfect example. A steakhouse that's here in Marquette called Elizabeth Steakhouse. We go there on Halloween. We're all decked out in our Halloween Renaissance outfits, and we're the last people there. We closed down the restaurant. Yeah, we're kind of those assholes, but I'm leaving them like a $70 tip, right? I mean, I leave a good it's a $350 steak dinner. I'm leaving them the tip. It ends up being $420. Go figure, for 4 of us. But I get the steak to go, the rest that I didn't eat, and I had a whole side of mushrooms. Well, the next morning when I go to eat my steak, it's got anchovies on it. And as a server, either A, they made a huge mistake and somehow they put anchovies on my steak, or B, that's kind of a shitty way because anchovies do kind of look like cooked mushrooms, and it was even in the steak sauce, and they put it on the steak kind of like as a F you're the last customer of the night on Halloween. How dare you take up my time? And I called the owner and I just said, the server must have just been having a bad day, but I just need to let you know this happened in a, 5-star restaurant. I was like, but she must have just been having a bad day, where I think a lot of people would have lost their shit. So,
yeah, I worked in a couple of restaurants, and for that reason, and what you just said, I actually won't go to a restaurant within probably about 45 minutes to an hour of them closing, because I know from experience that, even though you're technically open till 10 o'clock and somebody walks in at 9:30 or 9:40, they're still technically good. But by the time you take their order and bring out all the food, you're going to be there for an extra hour or so past closing. So that's why a lot of places will only take an order if they close at 10. They'll say, okay, last order's at like 9 or 9:15.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the classy restaurant in town, so we had a reservation at 8:15, 45 minutes before they closed, but still they know, the average dinner is going to take an hour and a half because it's a fancier place. So
Yep.
I don't know. But yeah, speaking of restaurants and whatnot, and domestic violence, but we'll move on from there because we've got our first, or not our first, but our guest coming up. His name is Ryan Reyes, and we reached out on social media as we do for some of our guests to come onto the show, and he was one guy that did respond with the issue of domestic violence where he's experienced it himself. So we've never talked to him about this, so this is 100% unscripted and live. So Bryson, if you'd like to bring Ryan up. Here we go.
What up?
Hi.
What's up, man?
Ryan, where are you joining us from?
I am in New Braunfels, Texas.
Okay.
And where's that near? What's the major city near there?
I'm closer to San Antonio than Austin, but they're all off 35. So it's basically you got Austin, San Marcos, New Braunfels, and then San Antonio going north to south.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you and Josh connected on social media regarding this issue that we've been talking about. So I don't know if you just wanted to jump right in or give us kind of what happened in your situation regarding domestic violence.
I listened to obviously I was backstage, so I was able to listen to y'all's whole show. And there's a lot of things that really came back to me. The crazy part is, it even now, like we're 2025, and like it's still hard for me as a man, especially the way I was brought up and raised, to accept. It took me a long time to really sit down and say, oh crap, I was in a domestic violence situation. And the ramifications that came from that have led me to one of the craziest years of my life. Like, we'll go back to the beginning. Like, never had I been in a relationship where I was cheated on. Never had I been in a relationship where I was physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally, psychologically abused. So I didn't know what was going on, but I'll never forget. We had just moved in together, and we got into a fight about I think I had caught her cheating on me with her previous boyfriend, the guy that
this is while you guys
left.
Are moving in together.
We were already together. We had lived together maybe 3 months.
Okay, but still, that's pretty fresh. 3 months.
Yeah. And I remember calling her out and just being like, hey, like, you guys can leave. Like, cause it was her and her son. I'm like, if you're not happy with me, you can leave. And she turned it on me and basically was trying to say that all the reasons that her cheating on me was my fault and not hers. And then it went from psychological to physical. Because I told her, I was like, you know what? I'm leaving. I'll come back for my stuff later. And I remember her grabbing a lamp that my mom had bought me and chunking it at my head.
Oh, wow.
And in the time that I
don't
dodged
understand
that,
why women feel that that's okay. Like why is that okay? Or they feel that they can justify that ever. But okay, so she throws the lamp at you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And what's crazy is, as men, we don't view that. Like, if I were to go to some of my buddies in the poker house, no one would consider that abuse because it didn't hit me, because I moved out of the way. And that's the difference. Like, if I would have done that to her, I'd have been a monster. I'd been blackballed from every place in the world. But the fact that she threw it and I avoided it the last second, it wasn't abuse. So, of course, I leave, and she did the same thing she did every time. It was me and my Chihuahua, and she would always hand me my Chihuahua on a leash and go, "Cool, y'all can leave. Like, you're done here." So I
Wow.
left. And I remember walking on the highway for about an hour and a half, and I got to a restaurant in the nearest town, Buda. They brought my dog some water, thankfully. And she starts calling, and she's like, "Hey, when are you coming home? Like, I'm so sorry. Da 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 da." Well, then it started escalating because I noticed because that was they were just sexting, her and her ex.
Mm-hmm.
Then flash forward to a couple of years later, and she literally cheats on me, like physically cheats on me, with a guy who she had told me before had physically abused her, like broke her jaw.
Mm.
And so I'm like, I didn't know what part to be offended about. The fact that she chose that guy or the fact that she cheated on me.
Yeah, like if you're gonna cheat on me, why be stupid enough to do something like that?
Right.
Besides that, yeah. I mean,
And I noticed that it started escalating because I'll never forget. I had just got, and Lord knows I'm not trying to be materialistic, but this is 2 years ago. So the iPhone 15 was brand new. And I had the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It had been out for maybe 3 days. I had it for maybe 2 days. And I called her out and I said, "Hey, I know you've been cheating on me. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this." And she starts punching herself in the face and says, "I'm going to call the police and tell them that you've been abusing me."
my ex-wife used to hit herself all the time,
Mm-hmm.
it drove me nuts. She did it in front of my parents, and my parents was like, "Hey, this is a serious problem," and I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Pass the salt. Like, you're telling me shit I already know." But
Yeah.
it's ironic that you say, like, was she your girlfriend or your wife?
Girlfriend.
So your girlfriend, yeah, was like a self inflictor or would do something like that. And
No,
yeah,
she never did it. It was always just talk.
but then she did it and said, "I'm going to call the cops."
No. I'm saying she never did it, like
Oh, she
physically
never
hit
did
her.
it. Oh, yeah.
She just kept threatening to do that.
Mm.
And where we kind of went on the frontage road as opposed to the highway was I start recording her on my brand new phone
Oh,
that I've had
yeah.
for 2 days.
Mm.
And I'll never forget her because I hadn't even had a case on it. No, I did. I did have a case on it. That's how bad she did it. I remember she grabbed the phone from me, like physically pushed my face, grabbed the phone, and threw it on the ground like 5 or 6 times, where it was literally an iPhone that she was throwing on the tile, was thrown with such ferocity that it bounced up and she could catch it and throw it again. And I'll never forget, um, you know, flash forward to a couple of years later, or about a year later, and granted that they weren't blood related, they were cousins by marriage, but she cheated on me with her uncle's son.
Gotcha.
And I remember telling her, "I get that y'all aren't blood related. I get that, in all fairness, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just too much for me. Like, no, like, because technically he's your cousin. Like,
Like, how
that's
long
too
had you guys been dating by this point?
6 years."
Okay. So, yeah, it
And
sounds like might have been a
there
little
was,
bit
and
too long.
well, what she would do too, oh yeah. What she would do too is obviously we know each other, Josh, through poker. What she would do when she wanted to cheat on me is she'd be like, "Hey, hey baby, you've had such a rough week, you've had such a rough day. Here's $150. Why don't you go play poker?"
To get you out of the house,
she-
basically.
To get you out of
Yep,
the
and
house
I'll-
so she could go get some ass.
Yeah, and I remember specifically the one, not the last time, but the one with the abusive ex-boyfriend. I remember I went in, I had pocket aces, and I could go on a tangent about how much I hate pocket aces. Jam all in because one guy kept just 3-betting me before we even had a flop, and he had pocket tens, and of course he rivers a 10, as you do. And I remember just being like, you know what? No, today's not my day. Her and I are both off work. I'm just going to take the extra money I have because it was like a $60 tournament or a $50 tournament.
Sure.
I was like, it was a $50 free roll or something like that. And I was just remember being like, you know what? I'm just going to go home. And I called her and she didn't answer. So I'm like, okay, she's asleep. So I'll just come home. And I remember coming home. And the worst part was when her son was in on it. Because I asked her, I said, hey, where's your mom? I don't know. She's out. I said, do you know where she's at? He goes, yeah, I know where she's at. I said, are you going to tell me? He goes, no, it's none of your business. I said, okay. So fast forward back to the third time with the cousin, I was just like, hey, this is too much. And she's like, you're not leaving me. Like, you're not. I refuse. And I remember specifically being like, I'm going to the bathroom because we had a bedroom and we shared a bathroom. I said, I'm going to grab my toiletry bag. I have a bag already packed. I'm going to go stay in a hotel for a couple of nights. And, we'll talk about this later. And she tries to grab my toiletry bag from me. So I pull it out of her hand. And as I pull it out of her hand, she proceeds to wind back. And I swear to you guys, she hits me right here. Like full on punch. And had she had any muscle on her whatsoever, I'd have been knocked out. But I remember it knocking me loopy to the point that I lost my balance.
Yeah, you're gonna get dinged a little bit for sure.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. I'm dinged out. So I'm like, I literally lose my balance and fall forward where she is. And she goes to catch me, but we both fall back. And I'm not there. Mentally, physically, I'm not there. So she starts screaming at the top of her lungs, Isaiah, which is her son. Isaiah, he's beating me, he's hitting me, he's hurting me. And her son, who's about as big as I am, runs into the room, grabs me by my collar, and flings me. So not only did I get hit right here, but now I've hit my head on the wall. And I'm just knocked out.
Fun.
And yeah. And I remember she starts immediately texting anybody that'll answer. Starts telling them that I abused her because she punched me and I fell on her. And that kind of led to the year that I've had where like Josh was saying, like legit, like I'm trying, like when I wasn't able to, when she kicked me out of the apartment, or she didn't kick me out, I left and I told her we were done. And I remember specifically not having anywhere to go because we were common law married. So she immediately took all the money out of our mutual accounts and there was nothing I could do about it legally.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, so I have no money. So now I'm having to ask my grandfather and his sister, my great aunt, for help. And at a certain point, they're getting drained because I'm now having to stay at hotels because we have just enough money to let me stay at a hotel. We have no money to get like an apartment right now because you got to put the deposits down, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we don't have that money.
Why would you, if you don't mind me asking, because
Please.
this is something a lot of times people don't understand when it comes to domestic violence. Our listeners might be listening and saying, well, why would you stay with a woman like that for so long? And I think it's something that most of our viewers and listeners don't understand, that you just get used to it as far as being a man, or there might have some kind of mental control over you or something to that effect. What would you say to any of our viewers or listeners as far as why you would stay on with a woman like that for 6 years versus cutting it off after like 2 or 3?
Because when it was good, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the same answer I had for my ex-wife. Yeah, when it was great, it was great.
And
but it just wasn't great very often.
And again, it comes back, right? And again, like we were talking about earlier, like the first time, that is classified as domestic violence, with her throwing items at my head.
Oh, sure. Well, and then you start making excuses for them.
You do.
Where you say, oh, well, they're really pissed off. They're really stressed out at work.
You start blaming
maybe they're
yourself.
having a bad day. Oh, of course. Yeah.
You start blaming yourself.
Shit.
I remember specifically that day, because she said that she was mad at me because I went out for drinks that night. And, looking back on it, I remember that I was never rowdy. I had 1 or 2 drinks, and I came home and went to bed.
Yeah, and domestic violence is not fun. I mean, it's one of those things where it's constantly over you, and you don't even realize it. Like, I've had discussions with other people who are in domestic violence situations, and try expressing to them, look, I understand you're in that situation, and you need help, but it's hard,
And you can't help. And the thing is you look past it, because, like, for me, if we're asking my personal and honest answer, I did love her. I did love being in a relationship. I did love having a girlfriend. It was nice to live with someone.
Well, you feel more accomplished as a man when you say, oh, I have a partner. I'm in the process of taking care of them while they take care of me. You feel more like you're giving more towards society. And then, when you find out that partner shits all over you, metaphorically speaking, sometimes physically, but metaphorically speaking, you're like, you're like, okay, I gotta break this off. And then you have the stigma of, oh, did she really abuse you and shit like that? I mean, have you had any of your family members inquire with you about that at all? Or have you told them like some of the things, transgressions that has happened to you from her, to your family members and whatnot?
I've talked to my mom about it, and my grandfather, who's in the back over there, is hearing it for the first time, probably.
Gotcha.
But man, the crazy part is, because she ruined my credit. Like, when she got mad at me, she maxed out my credit cards under my name.
Oh, yeah.
We lived together, so she had access to my Social Security and all that stuff. So when I leave, I try to get a new apartment eventually, and I can't because my credit's shot.
Well, it's one of those things where you literally have to start over from ground zero.
You do. And then going back to something that you said at the beginning of earlier in this podcast, Josh, at a certain point, like, there was a moment where I literally was on the streets. Like, I slept in a city park under a kid's playground. Like, I'll never forget having a fossilized plastic look over me and my dog. And you're carrying trash bags full of your clothes. And the problem is, you start experiencing all the things you're judging. Because I'm wearing my Coach shoes. Because, poker. So I'm wearing my Coach shoes. I'm wearing Tommy Bahama polo shirt. with Tommy Bahama shorts. I have a Tommy Hilfiger belt.
Yeah,
and
so you
I'm
look like a guy that was just drunk in the park and
sure.
hadn't stayed
Mhm.
out too late at night. I was
I'll
gonna say,
never
I don't think
forget.
I've ever slept in a public park, but I probably have woke up in one. But it
Sure.
wasn't from domestic issues. It was probably from too much drinking.
And I remember that day specifically. I had my Toomey suitcase,
Oh,
very
yeah.
nice suitcase.
Fuck yeah. Toomies are
Mhm.
top of the line, baby.
I had my Toomey suitcase with my trash bags, and I'm carrying them with my dog. And I
you're
remember
homeless. You're like, what the fuck?
and no one on the streets wants to help you because you look like you're just trying to ask for freebies.
Sure.
Mhm.
And I got into a fight with a homeless cross-dresser because he thought that my suitcase would accessorize his dress.
Now I have to ask you a question because I'm going to interject a little bit of humor because
Please.
this is a rough story. But what's worse, when your aces lost to the tens or the cross dresser thinking your suit would be or suitcase would fit them? Is that what you said?
Oh, fuck
Yeah.
aces. No, fuck aces.
Yeah, fuck aces. Yeah, at
Fuck
that point,
aces.
you're
Fuck.
like,
No.
no, it's the fucking cross dresser. What the
See,
hell's wrong with you?
the cross-dresser backed down when I bucked up.
Yeah,
The
there you go.
cross-dresser, he
Yeah.
threw one punch, hit me in the face, and was like, I'm like, dude, my ex-girlfriend hit harder than you. Like, okay. But you know what those aces did? They knocked me out of the tournament.
Oh yeah.
So
Mhm.
aces all day. Aces are worse. But it's so funny because going back to what you were saying earlier in the podcast, like I was saying earlier, going back, my mom, who's a woman, obviously, and I say that because she she told the powers that be, whoever they were, that she was in a situation where it was like domestic violence, something like that. They got her a shelter. They got her, and now 2 months later, my mother, granted, she lives in a place called San Saba, Texas, where I've lived in Texas and I don't even know where the shit San Saba is.
Okay.
But she lives there, but they got her a house, they got her a bed, they got her all the things she would need. The only thing she doesn't have is a TV, but she's got her phone, so who needs a TV anyway?
Mhm.
Now this was a domestic violence shelter that did this for her?
Yes. And my mom she goes, Ryan, you were literally in a domestic violence situation. You have to tell them. And I remember specifically calling, I got a book with every shelter in a 5-hour radius, north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, south.
And you started calling them?
Everyone.
And did
And
any
there
of them
was
help you?
nothing.
Yeah.
There was literally nothing. And to the point that I finally called 211. I don't know in y'all's neck of the woods what 211 is for y'all, but 211 for us is kind of like non-emergency emergencies.
Okay.
Okay.
And I called them and they're trying and they're like, well, we can send you here, but no, and I'm like, I promise you I've already called them. Well, what about here? I've already called them. And then the two big ones in Austin, one got shut down, the other was full. And then the ones in the city I was at the time, they alternate from men to women and children. And they
Hmm.
So
were
they
on
alternate. Interesting.
and they were on women and children. And the guy even told me, hey, the next time, because this was what, August, September, something like that.
Okay.
I remember them specifically saying, like, hey, you can apply because we're going to switch back to men in November. But to be honest with you, you're not gonna get in.
Why is that? Why wouldn't you get in? Because your case wasn't as severe as some others, or what?
The line was there's a lot, because like Josh was saying earlier, like for every 15 women's shelters, there's half a men's shelter.
Not even. It was literally, and Brayson can check these numbers, I think. It was like 13,000 domestic violence shelters for women and 6 for men. I remember because
Mhm.
at the time I looked at opening up the 7th one. I actually started all the IRS paperwork and the whatever the tax exempt code what status was and everything. And
Sure.
yeah, so there's literally 13,000 plus for women, and I believe like basically, and that's in the entire United States, by the way. When people are like, there's like 10 in Michigan, I'm like, no, there's like 10 in the United States, and there's 13,000 for
Yep.
women. So I find it intriguing though that they had where they would switch off between, hey, November's coming up and we're going to switch over to men. I wonder how that does as far as uh, eh, they give people like a certain time frame. Hey, you got to be on your own 2 feet within 2 months because then
What
we're going
my
to switch
mom
back over or what?
what my mom explained to me when she was in the women's shelter is you basically have 30 days. And because a lot of these people are, dependent upon drugs, and they're like, okay, cool, we're going to give you 30 days to kind of just chill here, get on your feet. And these people still have jobs. So it kind of gives them, which was all I was asking for, was just, I just need a bed to sleep on so I can get a job and just save up some money and get on my feet. Um, and they give you about 30 days, and then that's kind of where they're going with that, where it's like, they'll give, and the crazy part is, from what I understood, women get 3 months and then men get 1 month, and then women get 3 months and then men get one.
Hmm.
Because
I
again,
mean,
going back to
the thing that sucks about that is the men only get 1 month, but on the flip side, at least they get 1 month every 3 months.
yeah, but you have to remember
There's
too,
probably a much higher demand for men though because there's so fewer
the crappy
availability.
the crappy part about this is the fact that that list is, like, I remember uh I was in San Marcos, which is probably about 15 minutes north of where I am.
Okay.
And I was there with my grandpa, and we went everywhere. We went to like all the places that you could get assistance.
And they kept just
And
saying no because you're a man.
they just didn't have the resources. Like,
Hmm.
they were just like, the list is too, like, it was literally to the point that I was like talking to this lady, and she's like, I'm sorry, we don't have anything. Like, they wouldn't even entertain me coming and sitting in their office. They talked to me in the lobby. And I must have said something that breached this woman's heart, because I'll never forget. I was like, look, ma'am, I have no money. I have nothing. I'm gonna have to sleep on the streets tonight. I don't know what to do. I haven't eaten in 3 hours, and I'm trying my hardest not to shoplift. But I'm about to walk into that HEB and go ham crazy. And if I get caught, I get caught. And I didn't say
Right.
it. I didn't say it like that, but that's what was in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But and she literally pulls her wallet out, hands me $20 out of her own money, and says, "There's literally nothing the government can do for you. It's backed up, but please take this 20 and just make it last."
I mean,
Wow.
bless her heart.
Oh, for sure. And you can't. I remember specifically like keeping that 20, because I was like, I will not use this 20 unless I absolutely have to. And then the
So this
worst.
was a couple months ago. You said, sorry to interrupt, and
No,
so
please.
now you said you're living with your grandfather.
No, not at all. We're still living hotel to hotel. I'm just blessed that I got a job at Top Golf.
Okay.
So and the problem is I haven't even gotten a paycheck yet because I've been training.
Mm-hmm.
So God bless him, my grandfather is paying for the hotels, and he stays here to make sure that I'm okay, and he watches my dog while I go to work. But there's nothing more you know I could sit here, and it's so funny because you could sit here and blame all this on my ex-girlfriend. But you know how they say, you truly know who your friends are when you're,
When
gun to
you're
your
down.
face. Yeah. you get a ton of people who are like, oh, I'm so sorry, I wish I could help you. Here's a list of homeless shelters. And you know that they didn't research it. They just Googled homeless shelter in the area. Because I remember looking at those shelters and going, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. Cool thing. And you have to sit there, and it's so frustrating, but you have to sit there and go, thank you. I know you meant well. And then you got people who are reaching out to you and they're like, hey, I'm so sorry you're in this situation. But I have kids and I have I have pets and this and that. And it's like, you message them back and you're like, hey, no worries about it. Thank you so much anyway. But in the back of your head, you're like, then why are you messaging me? Like, why? Like, 'cause at that point, they're doing it to make themselves feel better. Because
I think in some situations they are. I think in some situations they're trying to it might be a couple that are trying to genuinely help. Because especially if they've been in a similar situation, but they're just not sure how they can help.
There's a difference. Like, because Josh, you even offered the room up on in your garage.
And by the way, I did not even ask my wife.
That's fair.
Yes. It wouldn't be the first time where I've called my wife and said, hey, honey, this is going to happen and you're just going to have to live with it. But her defense is sometimes she'll bring home strange animals. So
fair.
Go on. But yes.
No, and it was to the point that I'm like, I live in Texas, but I'm about to figure out a way to get to Michigan.
Right.
And, but I remember specifically too, I had two friends who, keep in mind, I hadn't talked to, and I tell people this all the time now. Do not be afraid to post your grievances, your stresses, your fears on social media. Do not have that worry of, oh my God, what are these people going to think of me? Because it's survival of the fittest. And had I not posted on Facebook, hey everybody, I'm scared, I'm hungry, I'm on the streets with my dog. And I do blame 90% of the blessings I got was because I posted the picture of my dog.
Oh yeah.
But I remember two of the people I hadn't even talked to since high school. And I'm 40 years old. So I graduated high school in 2004. Literally both of them said, in their own way, one guy said, hey, I haven't talked to you in years, and I'm so sorry you're going through this. Can I Venmo you $100 to get you a hotel? And then this other woman who I went to high school with, this girl I hadn't talked to.
Doesn't that make you feel amazing though, when you're like, there's fucking people out in the world that you haven't talked to in 20 fucking years, and you're like, I need help, and they're like, let me send you some money and help you do whatever you can with it. I mean, that restores my faith in humanity. When I hear shit like that, that's like the diamond in the rough of the whole story right there. Bless those people. Continue. Sorry, go on.
No, don't be sorry. You're throwing in some excellent points. And the thing is like I said, this has been such an incredibly eye-opening experience because, again, if I were driving around on the streets and I saw a homeless guy wearing Louis Vuitton and he had a Coach bag, I'd have been like, that piece of shit's just trying to get free money. Like, shut up. And now I'm like, no, you're wearing it because you don't want it to get damaged and it's the last nice thing you have, or like it's the most comfortable thing you have, so you're wearing it.
And I've met in our profession, we've met plenty of poker players, not because of domestic violence reasons, but poker players who've gone broke. And yeah, sometimes poker players do have nicer things, like
Sure,
Coach shoes or Tommy Bahama and stuff like that. So,
and what's funny is if you go back to the beginning of my poker, so I've played poker as far back as I can remember. I'm that cliche guy that I do not even remember when I learned how to play poker. I've just always known. And we would have birthday parties. We would have Christmas. We would have Thanksgiving. And as soon as dinner was done, as soon as the gifts were handed out, we were pulling out the tables and we were playing poker tournaments. But I remember when it started getting really bad at home when I was living with my ex, I used to stay at these poker rooms.
And you would overstay. Yeah, you would stay there to
and
avoid hanging out with your ex.
To the point where you become that douchebag who's like, hey, and you make up excuses like, hey, I'll get paid in like 5 hours, or my girlfriend's gonna send me money in about 4 hours. She's just got to go do this, and this. Is there any way you can lend me $100? Is there any way you can lend me $200 so I can enter the tournament and I'll pay you back ASAP? Because in your heart and in your mind, you believe you're going to win that tournament, but really, what it is you just don't want to go home.
Have you ever heard of the David Williams story where he gets close to winning $1 million in a single weekend?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. So when you're done with tonight being interviewed on this podcast, and for all of those out there who are listening, David Williams, I don't know if you know, he got third in the main event, I think back-to-back years, where Greg Raymer won it and somebody else. Like, don't quote me on this, but it's one of the best poker stories in the world, and I'm not going to give it all away, but it starts off with a $5,000 bet on a sports bet, and he runs it up to just shy of $1 million. And he does it in less than a weekend. But the reason why he doesn't go home, and this is the key for all those listeners out there, is because he was in a bad relationship with his girlfriend at the time. And whether it was abusive, he didn't really say that, but there was probably some coke involved or some shit like that, whatever.
Sure.
High stakes poker pros tend to do that from time to time.
Whatever keeps them awake.
Yeah. And so, but it was one of those things where it's funny because no matter what stakes you're playing at, whether it's high stakes or even low stakes, your entry level, it doesn't even matter. You're like, I'm just trying to avoid my situation at home because it was such a bad situation, which is the worst thing you could do, because you're better off just going home and dealing with the situation and being like, maybe I shouldn't even fucking be here. Like, you either need help, we need help, or I shouldn't be here. What would you say to our viewers and our listeners out there are some of the things that you've learned from your past experience with your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend that you dated for about 6 years? What would be some of the tall tale signs you would say to anybody listening that they might want to start, not really reevaluate the relationship, but to see if they're questioning whether or not they're in an abusive relationship? What kind of pointers would you point out to people?
Oh man, where to start?
If you just had to say, like, even 2 or 3, like, things that really stood out from you. I mean, obviously, if your girlfriend ends up throwing something at you, that's probably a tall tale sign. And I remember my ex-wife used to throw all sorts of shit at me: books, sandals, food, fucking you name it.
The first thing I would tell anybody,
hot cup of coffee once. Go on.
Ooh,
that's a good one. Hot cup of coffee or a hot cup of fucking tea. Yeah, throw that at me more than once. Oof. I mean, that, and it's like, how did I not fight back? How did I not like beat her when that happened? It's like, I don't know. It makes me who I am today.
Give me a lamp a lamp any day of the week over a hot cup of piss.
Bro, the part that I was saying when she would wake up and say, I wish my life was over, then she would come home from work, I would have a home cooked meal, I would have a bottle of wine open that was already breathing for 40 minutes, and then I would rub her feet for 30 minutes at the couch, and then she would say to me, I wish I was dead. And I would just look at her like, I'm the fucking greatest husband in the world. This wasn't like a once a week type deal. This was fucking Monday through Friday, And I was just like, what the hell, dude? But to each their own.
There's a couple of things that I would tell people that were in my shoes, or your shoes, or anybody's shoes that they're in. The first thing is, you are not above being abused. Stop.
Correct.
Stop trying to justify why. Stop trying to justify the person that abused you. Just because
Yeah,
you're a
don't give them
male,
excuses. Yeah.
right? Just because you're a male does not give her the right to hit you.
Yeah. And I understand if a woman is that time of the month, she can be a little cranky, but you don't need to be
Well,
cranky
there's a
and
difference.
slap the
There's
shit
a,
out of me, you know.
and obviously it's easy for me to say this now in hindsight,
Of course.
but it's so, because we've all been in that situation where it's super simple for me to sit here and give you advice, but if the shoe were on the other foot, I'd be sitting there going, man, I don't want to listen to your advice. You don't understand. Like me and her, no, you're not different. It's the exact same thing as every other one. It's just, is your soda Pepsi or Coke? They're
I
all
mean, yeah,
cola.
it's a different flavor. That's right, but it's still soda, no matter what, or pop
Mhm.
up here in Michigan, as we like to call it, versus y'all or use guys.
I'm
Is
a
what we
diehard
say.
Packers fan, so I know me the term pop.
Oh yeah.
The second thing that I would say, and this is typically what gets guys like you and myself into these situations, stop trying to be the hero. That's not healthy.
Oh, I think that's great advice. That really
That's,
hits. That's a fucking home run right there.
well, think about it. Look at your situation.
Oh
Look at my
yeah.
situation. Um, you want to be the hero. You want to be the guy that's like, that turns this person around. And here's the thing. And
You
this
don't
is,
need to be
again,
rescuing her. She needs to be capable
she
of
needs to be
rescuing
helping
herself.
herself.
Yeah,
And here's the thing,
absolutely.
and this is the one thing. This is the one thing that I've been hesitant to say and not say, but it just proves my point. The reason at the end of the day, and granted, I will never get back with this woman again. We will never get back together.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that I don't hate her, the reason that when she calls and needs advice, I'm still there for her to listen and this and that, because keep her at a distance, but I'm still there for her, is because, guys, she was
But you
honest
still
with
have,
me.
yeah. Go
Yeah, she
on.
was honest with me from the get, and I'm not justifying anything. She straight up told me when I first started talking to her, I have cheated on every one of my boyfriends, and I have anger issues.
Mm.
And I still went into the relationship because, going back to what we just said, I had a hero complex. I wanted to
You're
be the
like,
one that was going to
I'm
save
gonna
her.
fix her. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure. Oh yeah. I mean,
So,
and I will say this in not really my ex-wife's defense, but I ended up getting back at her subconsciously by fucking all of her best friends. So I mean,
good.
if she or anyone else is watching, including my daughter, because yes, your father's human as well. I just didn't like getting slapped the shit out of all the time and the shit kicked out of me. But yeah, I did end up sleeping with her best friends. So
And to me, that's just how you coped with it.
I
That's what you had
mean,
to do. That's what you had to do to close the wound for you.
yeah. I mean, I could sort of. I mean, I can justify it in my own mind. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sadistic.
And
I don't know what else
what
to
the
say.
last thing that I'll tell it's fair.
It's like, okay.
The last thing that I'll tell anybody that's experiencing this and just getting out of it.
Yeah.
Granted, I was kind of forced into this by, having to be on the streets and living I've lived in, like, literally since January. I've been in different hotels.
Mm.
And the thing is what I would tell people, no matter how you do it, when you're in a traumatic situation like that, the first thing you need to do is sit down and accept that you were just in a traumatic situation, no matter what, like so
yeah, it's just like any
with
life-changing occurrence, whether it's death or divorce.
sure
It's one of those things where you're like, hey, this is a life-changing situation. And once you realize, holy shit, because I think for men, it takes a little bit for men to really understand and grasp, I'm a fucking victim here. And
yeah, and
it's a challenging thing because there is such a stigma there. But I think once you realize, holy shit, I'm actually a victim, and that's okay. Like, you have to admit that you're a victim, and then that you're okay with that. And then you're like, well, I'm not really going to let me being a victim like dictate who I am. I just have to acknowledge that occurred during that time, and now I have to learn from it and move on.
And I remember
Yeah.
specifically staying the first 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks when I left my ex's apartment, like our apartment that we had together. I remember going to stay at a friend's house for 3 weeks. And unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to stay there because her and I had a couple of adult beverages, and she tried to make a move on me, and all the power in the world, but I told her flat out, I go, I'm just letting you know now. Legitimately, I'm not in a place where I can date. I just got out of a traumatic relationship. Like, I'm like, hey, we can do whatever you want to do. Like, I'm a man at the end of the day, but I'm telling you right now, this is not the time. And in those 3 weeks prior to saying this, her and her son, this is my friend, would tell me that I would go to sleep at 10, 11 o'clock, and I would scream bloody murder in my sleep.
Like having night terrors.
Night terrors.
Night terror. And the crazy part, guys, okay, when you go to sleep, you close your eyes, you fell asleep, you wake up, it's the next morning. Like, you were asleep, what feels like in your perception, 2 to 3 seconds, give or take. Apparently I was having night terrors and screaming bloody murder. And they would tell me, like, oh my God, like, you woke us up in the middle of the night. We thought you were dying.
Wow.
And so I told her flat out, like, hey, I'm just not in a place where I can
where you can deal with, you're not ready yet. Yeah, you have to be ready.
And she didn't like that answer, so she asked me to leave. Because I think she was expecting to have a boyfriend. But that's the big thing is, man, I you hear it all the time. You just got out of a relationship. Take some time to focus on you. Figure out who you are. Figure out what you want. Figure out where you want to be. Figure out what you need to be. And it's so funny because that's the kind of advice, again, that it's easy for me to say now because I was kind of forced into it.
Gotcha.
But it's the best advice I can give anybody, is because, like, Josh, like, you're with your wife now.
With my current wife, yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm on wife number 2, yes.
That's fine, because here's what I tell people. The one saving grace that gets you through everything, at the end of the day, everything in life happens for a reason.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the most cliche bullshit that I will say all night. But it is so true.
It's why I have my tattoo of my ex-wife that I got like a month and 2 months ago right here. It's a Raggedy Ann doll with her hair on fire. And it was funny because it's one of those things where my current wife, I told her, and I was really nervous about this. I didn't know how she was going to take it. I said, hey, I'm going to get a tattoo because this is my lifeline sleeve, if you will, all the stuff that's happened in my life. and relative members of me and stuff is what I'm working on my sleeve. And yeah, I said I want to get one of my ex-wife, but I want to symbolize it by putting it on my behind me, and it's this
Oh,
way.
I
So
love
when you're
that.
behind me, and you see me with short sleeves, you can see it, But yeah, it was funny. It's one of those things where I can look back at it and kind of giggle, and I learned my things from it. It's something that it's unfortunate that it happened, and it just it shouldn't have happened. There's really not any excuse for domestic violence at all, and it's one of those things where with men too, there's such a stigma out there for it, that I think more men need to come forward and just realize, hey, this is not cool at all. And I know, like, for me, there's still even there's things I have to work on. Like, one of the things that triggers me, something that my ex-wife used to do, is she'd get really passive aggressive about like cleaning the house, and she'd start like slamming shit down without like saying something or something to that effect. And maybe
Yeah.
some of the viewers might be like, oh, all women do this. No, usually if my wife's cleaning the house, she just cleans the house. But every once in a while, I can feel or sense a little passive aggressive, and she starts slamming stuff down. And I always tell her, I'm like, honey, I just have to let you know that that's never going to work with me. Like, if you get upset and start throwing shit or,
Yeah.
making loud noises because I'm not doing exactly what you're going to want me to do, that right there is like a trigger for something my ex-wife used to do all the time as this form of like mental abuse. And it was one of those things where I had a conversation with her, and I was like, I just need you to know that's not never going to make me get up and help you.
Right.
If you say, hey, can you help me with this, I'll help you. But if you're like stomping shit around, that's the shit my ex-wife used to do as a form of like manipulation and control. And but when my current wife does it, not necessarily on purpose, just accidentally or passively or whatever,
Sure.
because I've experienced it before, I just kind of take another breath and just relax and just be like, she doesn't mean anything by it. She's just,
That's
she's trying to
the
clean house, and she's just pissed, and maybe she's having a bad day,
that's the one thing that my mom told me. Greatest advice from her I've gotten is she goes, son, your next relationship, you will be the greatest boyfriend, husband, what have
Oh
you.
yeah.
You will be the greatest because you've endured this, and you, like you were saying, like, you've experienced it. So it's easy for you now to be like, you know what? Let's just take a breath, because this isn't nearly as bad as it could have
Oh,
been.
the advice that I give to people, I have people that tell me all the time that I give really good advice. They'll call me up and they're like, I'm freaking out. This is going on and that's going on. And I'm like, that's not really the end of the world. I'm like, you're still alive. Things are still okay. You still got money in the bank account. You're healthy. Like, and then they're like, oh, okay, thanks. I was freaking out before that. And it's like, yeah, when you put things in perspective, things don't stress you out that much, and I'll never forget, like, when I came home from the club being raided, and my current wife was like, how are you not freaking out? I came home, it was 2 a.m. My daughter was awake. My wife was, or she was my girlfriend at the time, was awake, and because she had gotten called from one of the players and one of the
Sure.
dealers saying, hey, by the way, the club got raided. And I got home, and, she was like, how are you not freaking out? And I just looked at her and I'm like, what the fuck is freaking out going to help anything? I'm like,
No.
nothing. I'm
And
like, and not only that, but whatever the fuck this is, I've been through worse.
mhm. Oh, absolutely. And it's so interesting because Josh and I have been sitting here kind of playing pickleball with stories back and forth, but Wayne, as
Wayne
someone,
doesn't have any stories, which
yeah,
is
that's
great.
what
But
I'm
what
saying.
questions
No, I
do
would
you
love to
have
know.
for?
I would love to
Yeah.
know, like, his thoughts on this, and I'd love to know his perspective, because that's the thing. And nothing. When I say what I'm about to say, this is not directed at Wayne, because you could tell. I have my two bachelors and my master's in psychology and communication are about to show, but you could tell the compassion and the empathy. The big thing was empathy that Wayne had for Josh, where he's like, at the beginning of this podcast, where he was like, look, I have not experienced this, but you've told me about it. And the problem is, you know, thank God for people like Wayne who have that empathy and that comprehension to just be there and be an ear, because you have no idea. I mean, Josh, you may, but
yeah, when you're at a poker table and you tell somebody you got abused by a 5'4" Latina and you're 6 foot, and they just look at you, and trust me, they get people who are like, you're joking, right? And you're like, no, like, I've got more fucking stories than you can imagine.
What do they always say to me? What do they always say? And this is the part that always drives me up the wall. Oh yeah, well, if that bitch would have done that to me, I'd have put her in her fuck. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have. No,
well, and it's just like one of those things where, you know, if you end up defending yourself as a man, you know, you can definitely get arrested for domestic violence. And
we are 9 out of 10 chances if a cop shows up.
Oh yeah, we're the one that has to get a hotel. Yeah, for sure.
No, we're the ones that are getting. We're not getting a hotel. We're getting the old 4 a.m. breakfast call at jail.
Yeah. And if you're black, it's worse. Like, it's seriously, if you're a black male and you get domestic violence called against you, I am so sorry. You're fucked.
Oh yeah,
like that's just the society we live in. Especially if you're a black guy dating a white girl. I mean, I hate to say that, but it is what it is, you know.
Well, and the problem in that situation is a majority of people. Again, look at what happened with me and my ex. She punched me right here, and had she had any upper body strength at all, with that shot there, she could have killed me.
Oh yeah, she could have done a lot of damage.
And she knocked me loopy. I lost my balance and fell forward. She tried to catch me, and then I ended up falling on top of her. Like, she ran out of her way to try to catch me. And then when I fell on her, she started screaming, he's attacking me. He's attacking me. And, you know, I can't knock her son, because him running into the room and seeing this 300-pound man on top of his 127-pound mom, like, you know, you're not going into the room. Oh, let's see what's going to happen. No, you're hearing that your mom's getting attacked, and then you see that. So you can't even bash that. But the problem, especially like you were talking with African-American males and white women, is 90% of society believes that they did it.
Well, like, I have a family friend I've known since I was like 8 years old, lives in North Carolina. We've taken him on a bunch of family vacations with us. Consider him part of the family. He happens to be black. And he had a white girlfriend. And she beat the shit out of him. And then she calls the cops on him. And then he got arrested. And I was just like, this is unbelievable. He's the one that's got the bruises. And it's a situation where, you know, I don't know what we can do as far as society besides just bring it up more that, hey, guess what? Men are victims of domestic violence too. It's not just a one-way streak. Wayne, what questions do you have for Ryan?
Yeah, here's my question, right? So first off, I'm sorry that you guys both went through that. I mean, it sounds absolutely awful. And I'm happily married for over 4 years now. So I'm sure I won't have to, thank you. I'm sure I won't have to deal with that. But my question is, so let's say, Ryan, go back to the first occurrence. I believe you said it was when she picked up the lamp from your mother and threw it at you, right? So I know when you're going through the situation, it sounds like you guys were both almost in a trance, so to say, where you don't even know what's going on. Like, I guess the closest thing I can relate to that is I've had jobs before where people would say to me, like, Wayne, what are you doing? Like, working that job? Like, you're getting paid like shit. They're treating you like shit. And like, I was like, no, this is the best thing in the world. And then it wasn't until after I got out of the situation where I'm like, yeah, what the hell was I thinking? Like, I'm retarded for even, for even staying there. So I guess my question is, so back to your situation, right? The first occurrence, she throws a lamp at you. What do you think at that point, now that you've gone through this whole situation, what is the correct course of action at that point? Like, is there maybe anger management? Like, obviously she told you from her past that, hey, I have anger issues, I cheat on everyone I'm with, whatever. Is it anger management, or is it I gotta just cut ties at this point?
I think you stop them right there and say, this is unacceptable. And if you throw another fucking thing at me, I'm out the door. Period.
In hindsight,
that's the so anybody who's listening who doesn't have a relationship, if they get involved with a woman in the first fight, she's throwing shit at you, you need to be like, this is not cool. Like, this is not okay.
In hindsight, in hindsight, because I remember she kicked me out. We had to go somewhere. We can't, this is years ago, so I didn't want to be on the streets. So we had to go somewhere, and I remember specifically telling her, I'm not coming home unless you agree to see a counselor about your anger issues. And she called me up crying and said, please come home. I swear to you, I'll do whatever it takes. I will go do the classes. I will go do this. I will go do that. And the thing that I failed to do
is follow up
because what ended up happening was she was saying it just so I would come home. And then she never went to the classes, and I never got after her about it. And that's one thing in hindsight I wish I would have done is, and the advice that I would give to anybody in that situation is, if you're going to lay ground rules down, stick to them. Because I will tell your listeners, like I will tell you guys, at the end of the day, the reason that I just let it go is because I didn't want to be single. I was happy being in a relationship. But guess what? 6 years later, where am I? I'm in a hotel room and I'm single.
Yep.
So
that's part of the issue too.
Yeah, now you know what it's going to take to be happy, which is not getting abused. That's step one.
Yeah.
And what were you saying, Wayne?
That's part of the issue too, right? Because women are typically the choosers on the dating market, right? So men, that's probably part of the reason. We've talked about this in previous podcasts where we said men will put up with almost anything, right? I mean, the situations you guys just described are awful, probably more awful than most guys that'll ever watch this will ever go through, right? But you guys both stuck it out.
Hopefully.
It wasn't, hopefully, right? But that's the part of the issue is, right? I can relate to that, right? If you're in a relationship and you're almost pot committed. We used that in a previous podcast where, you're dating her for whatever, even at 3 months at that point, you're like, maybe you had been single for a year before that. And you obviously want to be in a relationship, right? Nobody wants to be alone, right? So you say to yourself, okay, yeah, she said she was going to go to anger management, but she didn't go. We'll just sweep it under the rug and maybe we'll be okay. But as you said, you have to really follow up, because if she's told you she has a history of this and she did it to you within 3 months of going out with you, she threw a lamp at you. Luckily, you ducked out of the way, but there's a trend. There's a pattern there that this is going to occur again. So you really have to just stick to your gun and say, okay, hey, honey, I know it's been a couple weeks now. I know you got work and other things, but we got to probably schedule that class, or let's go together and let's figure out a healthier way. Maybe it's go kickboxing or go to a gym and run on the treadmill, whatever it is, like a healthier way to get your anger out and not by throwing a lamp at you.
And the other thing that I would tell people on that note too is, because I remember when I first started talking to my ex, I was talking to another woman, because my ex at the time, when we first started talking, like we weren't dating, she was in another relationship. And she told me, oh, we're getting ready to end things. So, one thing led to another. And then she's like, oh, I'm not going to leave him. I'm not going to leave him. And so I started talking to this other woman. And, the thing that sucks the worst is the fact that hindsight's 20/20. Because the girl that I was talking to alongside her, when we weren't dating, we were just talking.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we were doing more than talking, but you get what I'm saying. But This woman made 6 figures a year. This woman wanted me she literally came to my apartment, and we rearranged my bedroom so that she could stay at my apartment and turn it into, because she works from home. So she would come stay with me and then work at my place. And she was like slowly, you could tell she was slowly trying to move in. But I was so blinded by this other woman, because it's the proverbial kid with a toy. It's the like, I already have this toy. I'm playing with this toy. But that other toy, I only get to play with it when it's available in the living room. Like, I don't get to play with it at my own free time. What I would tell people is, and again, the problem is, again, if I would have told myself this advice 6 years ago, 7 years ago,
you wouldn't have listened, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
And it's one of those things where it's like, how do we get men to listen? I think the best way is just to talk about it and bring it up as far as a topic.
The problem with that, and I say this with all the heartbreak in the world, look at 2020, the hashtag Me Too movement.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this as well.
Yeah.
Look at that. That would never fly with men. If men were to rise up and say, this woman did this and this woman did this, and the society would tell us to shut up and be tougher. But
suck it up.
Yep. And
suck it up, man.
But women, because I remember I had buddies of mine in pro wrestling who were blacklisted. They were well on their way to getting signed to WWE or a company that would later come out, AEW. They were well on their way to getting that route. But these women and this happened quite a bit, these women who nothing had happened to them. Nothing. They just randomly picked a wrestler and said, oh, this guy did this to me. And no one believed the guy. The guy was like, I know that's not possible. And they're like, of course you'd say that. Why wouldn't you deny it? And all
my father, he told me a story where he was in a conference, a corporate conference with an attorney on sexual harassment. And he goes, the worst defense you can have in a sexual harassment claim is I'm completely innocent. He goes, that's the last thing a sexual harassment, a defense attorney wants to hear. They'd rather hear you say, oh, we had an affair or whatever, or something explainable, than I'm completely innocent. Yeah, that's Wayne, what other questions do you have for Ryan here?
I think that's answered most of them. But we do have a tradition here on the podcast, Ryan, where we ask you a question that we'll ask the next guest. You won't know who this guest is, and then we actually received a question from our previous guest for you. So we've had a lot of serious questions, but then we got this one, which I thought was pretty interesting. So this is a kind of a
serious. I don't know. I think it's very philosophical, if you ask me.
All right. So with your chicken wings, do you prefer blue cheese or ranch?
Depends on that is all dependent upon the sauce that you are dipping.
This is like an analogy for life.
Buffalo, give me the blue cheese all day.
Okay.
Any other sauce, ranch.
Okay.
Ranch. But for blue cheese, but for buffalo, you got to do the blue cheese. Like, hell, I don't even like blue cheese that much. But there's a place, I don't know if y'all have it up there, but here in Texas, we have a place called Jersey Mike's. And it's
of course.
And they have a Philly buffalo cheesesteak.
And it's with blue cheese?
It has blue cheese crumbles. And I'm telling you, I have to have the blue cheese with it because
the next time you grill a steak, especially being in Texas, put blue cheese crumbles over the top of it.
I've done that. I've done.
Oh my
I've done
God,
that. I did.
it's amazingly good. You're like, why am I just learning about this?
Oh, so good. I'm so glad we switched to that, because I was just like, I'm usually like more of a fun-loving guy, and I'm just like, oh, it's so funny because I'm starting my own YouTube.
The follow-up question was, if you choose ranch, why do you hate America? Is what he said. And I was
Don't get me started on why I hate America. I'm a Mexican. I'm a Mexican. Like,
yeah.
No,
but no, that was if you chose ranch over blue cheese, so I get it. I'd use the ranch for my carrots and my celery, and then I use blue cheese for all the wings. So yeah.
See,
I hear you there.
I no, like any other sauce, give me ranch all day, but buffalo, you gotta have. And I say this, I might slightly hate America because I say this, but 90% of the time when I get wings, I default to ranch. But yeah, no, if choosing ranch means that I hate America, then ship me to Canada.
That was our previous guest who asked that. So what question would you like to leave our next guest?
Let's see.
You get to ask anything.
What do I want to ask?
Looking at where my notes are.
Okay. How do you cook your steak? And if it's anything higher than medium rare, why do you hate America?
How do you cook your steak?
My favorite line in any show that has ever been said, there are two. One of them, if you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, is the pickle theory. Or is the olive theory? No, it's pickle theory.
I don't know this.
The pickle theory, and this actually applies to me and every one of my relationships. You know you're in the perfect relationship when one of the parties doesn't eat olives, doesn't eat pickles, doesn't eat something, and the other one is obsessed with them.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you feed it to them. You give it to them. I cannot stand... I can do fried pickles, but that's it. Pickles on my burger, pickles like straight up out of a...
Have you had homemade bread and butter pickles?
Yes, they're disgusting. I would punch a baby before I ate that.
My father-in-law makes homemade bread and butter pickles, and they're so delicious. I normally do not like pickles, but homemade bread and butter pickles, sign me up. I take them. This is what I do. This is something my brother-in-law taught me, and he's my wife's brother, not my wife's father's. In any case. So he takes the bread and butter pickles, and then he takes pretzel and then cream cheese. He takes the cream cheese, dips the pretzel in the cream cheese, and then wraps the bread and butter pickle around it, and you eat it all. And it's just it's an amazing taste.
I'm a texture guy for sure, because like I used to bartend at a place called Yard House.
Oh yeah.
And one of the dishes they had was a Nashville hot chicken. But what it was it was a Nashville hot chicken breast. And it was served with 3 mini
bread and butter pickles.
No, sweet potato pancakes.
Oh.
A side of ranch, and then a side of pickles. And I would tell people, this is how I used to sell it. You have to get your fork and knife, cut a piece of the chicken, stick your fork in it. Then you get a slice of a piece of the pancakes, put that on the fork. You top it with the pickle, and you dip it all in ranch and eat it one time. I tell people,
I could see, yeah, it's a combination of all the different flavors at once.
Yeah, and I would tell people I hate pickles, but I have to have the pickle with this to complete it. But no, going back to the steak question, my favorite line in any show ever made was the final episode of King of the Hill, where Bobby turns to Hank and says, "Dad, what happens if someone wants a steak that's cooked more than medium rare?" And Hank Hill looks at him with eyes oh so true and says, "We ask him politely, yet firmly, to leave. And to me, that
my
is
mother-in-law watches
absolutely
all of my podcasts and all of my vlogs, and she always cooks her steak well done. And I'm a rare guy. I eat mine like rare or medium
I
rare.
eat rare as well.
If I'm splitting it with my wife, I'll go up to medium rare. But if I'm by myself, it's usually rare. And yeah, when she orders hers well done, I don't say anything. I'm just like, to
But
each their
you're
own.
silently judging.
But I mean,
I'll tell you this before we
Yeah.
go. I got to throw this out there. This is kind of one of those moments when you find out pro wrestling is not that it's staged.
What? No way.
Get out.
Hear me out.
Are you kidding me?
As a former pro wrestler,
Fuck this, I'm done.
as a former pro wrestler, I will never ever say the F word.
Oh.
I will never say that 4-letter F word.
Oh. Free.
I'll never say, yeah. No, you pay me. No, I'll never say it's fake because it hurts. You feel everything. But I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather, whenever we'd go out to eat, we would go get steaks. Myself, my brother, and my grandpa. And he would always order our steaks well done. And it's because we're kids. He wants to make sure that it's cooked properly, that we're not going to get sick. But I'll never forget oh my God, what is life? When I took him to go have a steak, one of my buddies, I had just got through being homeless. Like I still consider myself homeless because I'm living in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember specifically my buddy goes, I'm sending you $75. I want you guys to go to Texas Roadhouse. You and your grandfather can get a nice steak dinner and still be, have a couple of whiskeys and be able to tip your waiter accordingly. And I took my grandfather to get steak, and I'm expecting him to order it well done because that's what I've always known. So I get my steak, I order it rare, and my grandfather looks at him and goes, I'll get medium rare. And I said, wait, what? He said, what? I thought that you ate it well done. He goes, no, that's just how I served y'all's steak. And it blew my mind. Like, that's one of those moments where you're like, okay, what me and my girlfriend just endured together, me and my ex-girlfriend just endured together, throw that on the side of the road. You eat your steak medium rare? What?
I like that story. And that's a good way to wrap it up. Well, we appreciate you being on the pod here, Ryan. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? Like, is it on Facebook or Instagram or X?
You can reach out to me. I'm on both usually. I'm really bad at checking my Facebook Messenger, but I'm on there as Rhino, RYNO Reyes, REYES. And then Instagram, it's at River Rhino.
Okay.
And I want to tell people this. Like I said it earlier, and this is kind of how I want to close this out. Do not, and this is to all the male listeners out there, two things. If you think you might be in an abusive relationship, you're probably in an abusive relationship. Second, do not be afraid to voice your pain. Do not be afraid to voice your hurt. Do not be afraid, because let's put it this way. Had I not posted on Facebook that night that I was sleeping in the streets, that I had my dog with me, and I took a picture of my dog who's sleeping right by my suitcase on my bag of clothes, because for some reason he felt that was the most comfortable place to sleep. And we're hiding. We're literally hiding in a city park, praying that the police don't come and kick us out, and having to walk about half a mile to go to the gas station to use their bathroom. Had I not posted about it, and trust me, I wrote it and deleted it, and wrote it and deleted it.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
Because you're terrified of what people are going to think about you. Do not be afraid to voice it, because
to reach out and ask for help, for sure. Yeah.
Because one of two things. One, No one can help you if they don't know you need help. They're not
Correct.
gonna just like my friend who she sent me $100. She would have never ever sent me $100 had I not asked for help.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's just like, I want people to know, like, like I said, reach out to me on Instagram and at River Rhino, reach out to me on Facebook, Rhino Reyes, because man, like sometimes, because there's listeners out there that maybe their significant other had a fucked up childhood. Because here's the thing, and I've been wanting to say this and I keep forgetting. I've been wanting to say this on the podcast. Every job I've ever had, from my first job back in 2003 to today, what does every boss tell you? Hey, whatever is going on outside of work, leave it outside of work and pick it back up when you leave work. That doesn't mean you can take it home. Like why is it okay to not bring why is it okay to not bring work-related issues, non-work-related issues to work, but it's okay
especially
to bring,
if they're impacting work as
yeah,
well.
but
you
why
know what
is
I
it
mean?
okay for people to bring home
Work
their
issues
their
where they
their
can't. Yeah.
yeah, like
Mhm.
don't like, if it's getting to the point that that's the case, get help. And if you need to message me, if you need to message Josh, hell, if you need to message Wayne, just reach out and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, because there's nothing better than having someone that's impartial tell you, hey, you need to get some help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we
Now,
appreciate you being out on our pod for sure.
hey, I
And
appreciate y'all having me on.
I think it's
Thanks,
an
Ryan.
important message. Yeah, for sure. To reach out, ask for help if you need it. And we appreciate it, brother. We'll
Yeah,
follow up with you and see how you're doing
absolutely,
down the
guys.
road.
Thank y'all again.
All right,
Thanks,
brother.
Ryan.
Peace.
Word.
Well, that was a good conversation that we had with Ryan. And domestic violence is a very serious issue, both ways, both with men and women. And if you are experiencing any issues with domestic violence, please reach out to a friend, to a loved one, post it on social media. And yeah, what are your some of your takeaways, Wayne? Because I know Ryan and I did most of the talking back and forth with some of our horror stories, if you will, or war stories.
Yeah, when I'm hearing you tell your story and then I hear Ryan's story, I'm almost thinking to myself, how can these people just stick around? Like, when he says she threw a lamp at me, and then he kind of buried the lead a little bit. He said, oh, she told me up front that she has anger issues and that she cheats on all her boyfriends pretty much. I kind of thought in my head for a second, like, what are you doing? But I also realized, as we mentioned, that nobody really wants to be single. So when you are in a relationship, you want to kind of stick it out, right? So
Yeah, it's one of those things where you want to stick it out. Plus, you also have to say, like Ryan, for example, he said he just turned 40. The older you get, the more you're willing to put up with. I understand everybody has past demons, but yeah,
mhm.
when it's abusive, it's just something that should not be overlooked. And if you try making justifications for what's going on, like, oh, she threw a lamp at me, she was just having a bad day. No, that's not normal behavior, and if you unfortunately grew up with some of that's not healthy behavior. If it was your normal behavior in the past, it certainly is not healthy behavior. And
Yep.
so that, I think that's a key takeaway, is when you start noticing, hey, this is not a healthy behavior. Now, do all of us have moments of weakness? Of course, all of us have moments of weakness. There's not a single one of us that can't say, oh, I'm absolutely perfect in every endeavor of XYZ subject. We all fuck up from time to time. But the important
Mhm.
thing is when you do make that mistake, that you learn from it. And I think the challenging thing with men, when they are victims of domestic violence, I think once they do learn from it, it's like once they realize, holy shit, I was in an abusive situation, they just realize I'm just never going to be in that situation again, because, or hopefully they won't, because you just realize there's a lot better things in life than putting, I'd rather be single than be abused.
Or hopefully if you are in that situation again, you now know how to deal with it better than you did previously. And he started on the right track, and just didn't follow up. So he kind of knew in hindsight. It's always easier to figure out what you should have done after the fact, but now he at least knows.
And that's a common trait with abusers, is that they make a lot of promises for the time being and then that they don't follow up with them. That's very common. My ex-wife used to do that too, where she'd make promises for all sorts of shit and just never follow up with it. And, you know, people might say, well, why were you married for 19 and a half years? It's like, well, she's the mother of my kid. And you always want to err on the side of optimism. So if you're dealing with somebody that you love at the time and they're making commitments to you or promises to you or adjustments for you, you want to believe them. Like, you genuinely want to believe them. But like I stress in my poker coaching and teachings, is you look at the past behaviors of the tendencies of the people that you're playing with at the table. Same thing. If you look at the past behaviors of the tendency of the person that you're with, and you're like, well, you've been manipulating and abusing me for so long, you're just going to probably continue to do it, you know? And I really, I don't know. I struggle with it, because like I said, even now I can say, oh, she had a lot of mental issues going on or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. There's just no excuse for domestic violence. There really isn't. It's unfortunate. But if you guys do want to be a guest on our podcast, or if you guys want to bring up a topic that you'd like us to focus on, don't hesitate to email us down below. And Wayne, do you want to wrap us up with anything else?
Nope, that covered it. Email us, comment down below. We'd love to talk to you. We go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.
All right. Peace.